The Goku Black Arc takes place after the events of the Universe 6 tournament. Future Trunks races through a war-torn city, its streets littered with scattered papers declaring the end of the war following the defeat of androids 17 and 18. Breathless and worn down, Trunks slows to a stop when something catches his eye. Without warning, an explosion erupts, launching him through the side of a building as a rapid stream of ki blasts chase him down. He retaliates with a blast of his own, but another explosion follows almost instantly, carving a huge crater into the ground. Though he survives the attack, having escaped from the area, Trunks knows he can't stop moving, not yet. Eventually, he arrives at a hidden basement and is met by future Mai. Overwhelmed with grief, Trunks breaks the news. Bulma has been found and killed. He struggles to hold back his emotions as Mai silently embraces him in his pain. Sharing a can of preserved meat, Mai listens as Trunks explains that Bulma managed to power up the time machine before she died, but only enough to allow a one-way trip. Handing over the last of the food, he tells her of his decision. He's going to travel 17 years into an alternate past, a time when both Goku and his father are still alive. Meanwhile, in the present timeline, Jaco explains the concept of an alternate past while talking to Bulma, a whole other world that appears when the past is changed by a time machine or something similar. Goku and Vegeta continue sparring nearby as Whis, Beerus, and the others relax and enjoy some good food. Jaco gives Bulma a hard time, warning her that controlling time is a serious offense. He brings up that her sister, Tights, tipped him off, noting that she might be up to illegal research. Bulma says she has no interest in time travel so long as things stay peaceful, but Jaco questions how she could possibly know what's going to happen in the future. Bulma shifts the focus to Hit, who has the ability to time skip, though Jaco notes that ability can't alter the past and is a rare exception to the law. Present-day Trunks gets a crash course of his own on timelines and alternate realities, though the teacher quickly realizes that the lesson was supposed to be about arithmetic all along. Curious about the nature of time manipulation, Bulma questions Whis about his ability to rewind time, more specifically concerning when Frieza destroyed the Earth. So does this mean there's another world where everyone died? Whis describes it not as time travel, but more like revisiting a specific moment to make a different decision. Beerus questions why she's even asking, since humans have no real access to time travel. Flustered, Bulma struggles to come up with a good excuse. Back in the ruined future, Mai asks why Trunks chose 17 years ago specifically. He explains that those settings are already programmed into the time machine, and if he changes them, he may never make it back to the same world with the same people. In both timelines, the androids were ultimately stopped and peace was restored until someone new showed up. Trunks doesn't know how this mysterious figure keeps finding him, but he suspects that it's because the enemy has learned how to sense ki. He hands Mai a shotgun, and the two of them prepare for what's coming next. As Goku and the others gather for another meal, Whis praises their refined ki control, but notes they shouldn't rely on it too much. Goku takes the opportunity to ask about Zeno, the so-called Omni King, and why he couldn't sense any energy coming from him. Beerus and Whis explain that the Omni King doesn't engage in battle. Rather, with his absolute authority, he can erase anything, villains, planets, or even entire universes in an instant. In fact, there were originally 18 universes. As Beerus munches on the last bits of food, he admits that this is exactly why everyone gets so nervous when Goku interacts with Zeno. Trunks and Mai move cautiously through the underground sewers, heading toward Capsule Corporation. The area seems deserted, so Trunks clears a locked door with a quick energy blast. But a voice rings out behind them, smug and menacing. It had been expecting their return. Trunks launches a blast to distract their stalker, but the enemy retaliates almost immediately, now clearly able to sense ki. Drawing his sword, Trunks shouts for Mai to get to the time machine while he holds the enemy off. But the battle turns quickly, and Trunks is smacked aside with ease. As the enemy approaches him, Mai aims her shotgun in defense, creating a thick layer of smoke as she urges Trunks to be the one to leave instead. But before she can fire again, she's struck by a ki blast and sent tumbling off a balcony. Trunks dashes to catch her, holding onto her tightly as she's presumed dead. Behind him, a fire spreads as their all too familiar enemy with the face of Goku steps forward, vowing that this will be Trunks' end. Trunks powers up to Super Saiyan 2 and unleashes a Masenko blast at his opponent, using the attack as a diversion to close the distance with a swift sword strike followed by a series of rapid punches. However, the assault falls short, and the enemy fends off Trunks' attacks and vanishes in an instant, reappearing behind Trunks to land a brutal elbow to his neck. Questioning if Trunks really thought such a pathetic attack could defeat him, the enemy moves for his sword. Just as the finishing blow is about to connect, Trunks recalls both Mai and his mother's desperate plea to survive and instinctively uses his belt and sheath to jolt himself out of harm's way. As the enemy tries to pinpoint Trunks' position, the time machine bursts out of Capsule Corporation with Trunks inside, launching into the sky. The enemy prepares himself and fires what looks like a Kamehameha wave, but Trunks vanishes just before it hits, narrowly escaping through time. Back in the main timeline, Beerus interrupts Goku and Vegeta's sparring session by striking up a conversation about the duties of a god of destruction. Midway through their match, Trunks' time machine appears and suddenly crashes down from the sky, catching everyone completely off guard. Present-day Trunks investigates and examines someone is inside and hurt. Bulma realizes it's future Trunks and tells Goku to get a sensu bean. He quickly rushes off to Korin Tower via instant transmission and leaves after a brief conversation. Meanwhile, Pilaf and his gang curiously point out the resemblance between this mysterious Trunks and the one they already know. As Goku returns, future Trunks regains consciousness, sees Goku in front of him, and startled, immediately swings at him. Goku, surprised but unharmed, casually blocks the punch. Regaining his composure, Trunks struggles to understand how Goku is still alive after being killed by Cell in this timeline. As Bulma and Vegeta begin questioning him about what happened, Beerus and Whis realize the boy shares the same name, Trunks, confirming that time travel is once again at play. Goku wonders aloud if Majin Buu could be the cause of Trunks' previous injuries, but Trunks clarifies that the Supreme Kai intervened in helping him defeat both Dabura and Babidi, preventing Buu's return. Beerus and Whis cut in, prompting Bulma to admit that it was her future self who developed the time machine, thus explaining the similarities between the two Trunks present. Beerus threatens to destroy Bulma for tampering with time, but Vegeta, uninterested in the technicalities, demands details about the new threat in Trunks' timeline. Trunks explains that the enemy is a relentless figure who travels from planet to planet, wiping out humanity in the name of a warped sense of justice. Even his mother, future Bulma, was killed by this individual who strangely looks exactly like Goku. Before she died, Bulma gave him a name, Goku Black. Beerus is baffled by the entire situation, while Goku and the others agree that they need to do something. Trunks, however, notes there was only enough fuel in the time machine for a one-way trip, so he had no choice but to escape to the past. Vegeta, ashamed his son ran from a fight, berates him, though Bulma cuts in, exclaiming he and Goku should back off for a moment and let Trunks rest. Goku volunteers to go to the future himself and questions what kind of fuel Trunks used. Fortunately, the time machine runs on an energy source that present-day Bulma is currently working on. It will take one day, but once complete, they'll be able to refuel the time machine. Still shaken by Goku Black's power, Trunks worries about whether he can hold his own. So, Goku proposes a sparring match to compare strength. Trunks powers up, crackling with lightning, prompting Goku to compliment him and transform as well. As the two begin trading blows, Trunks holding his own quite well, Beerus notes that both are currently fighting in their Super Saiyan 2 forms. Whis then remarks that Trunks might actually have the edge. Goku compliments Trunks again, noting his Super Saiyan 2 form is a lot better than Gohan's was back during the battle with Cell. Trunks notes it's been more than 10 years since then, and that he's trained himself to death. Goku then escalates to Super Saiyan 3, impressing Trunks, who responds by powering up even further himself, enough to surprise even Vegeta, who says that Trunks is just as strong as Goku's Super Saiyan 3 form now. Trunks charges in with an attack, but Goku catches him off guard with a swift kick from behind, knocking him to the ground. Beerus observes, noting that Goku briefly tapped into his god form. Trunks notes that even with all this power, he was still no match for Goku Black. Goku invites Beerus to come along to the future, but the god of destruction refuses, instead questioning what his counterpart in Trunks' timeline is doing while this chaos unfolds. Trunks, confused, admits he doesn't even know what a god of destruction is. This revelation immediately grabs Whis' attention. If the Supreme Kai helped in Trunks' battle, what happened to him? Trunks explains that the Supreme Kai was killed during the fight. Beerus reacts with alarm, and Whis calmly explains that the God of Destruction and the Supreme Kai are spiritually linked. If one dies, the other dies as well. That means Trunks' timeline no longer has a God of Destruction at all. Several years ago in future Trunks' timeline, Kibito and the Supreme Kai quietly observe as Trunks trains diligently with the legendary Z-Sword. Just as the Supreme Kai prepares to bring the session to a close by hurling a massive cube forged from Kachin, the hardest known metal, Kibito suddenly alerts them that Babidi has begun making his move. Confident they can stop Majin Buu's resurrection before it begins, the three immediately set off. Trunks, however, politely asks if they could fix his clothes before they go. Later in the battle, a bloodied Supreme Kai and Kibito bear witness to Trunks clashing with Dabura while Babidi gleefully looks on. During the fight, Dabura spits on the Z-Sword, forcing Trunks to drop it to avoid being turned to stone. The sword shatters into pieces, killing the old Kai trapped inside, unbeknownst to everyone. It becomes painfully clear that the Supreme Kai miscalculated. Pui Pui and Yakan were nothing more than distractions to buy time. The Supreme Kai attempts to intervene, but Dabura quickly overpowers him and sends him flying. Kibito screams in desperation, knowing that Supreme Kai must not fall. But before he can act, Dabura appears before him and incinerates him on the spot, leaving Trunks shouting in horror as Babidi uses his magic to strangle the Supreme Kai with telekinesis. Fueled by rage, Trunks powers up even further to Super Saiyan 2, lightning bolts flickering around him as his energy surges. Babidi shows a hint of concern, though Dabura remains confident that Trunks is still outmatched. The tide begins to shift as Trunks lands a series of strong hits, aided by the Supreme Kai using his own telekinetic powers to momentarily freeze Dabura in place. Seizing the opening, Trunks fires a devastating blast that finally destroys the demon and Babidi as well. With the battle over, the Supreme Kai takes a moment to celebrate the return of peace before collapsing from exhaustion as Trunks rushes to his side. Far above, perched atop a cliff, Black watches with amusement. He finds it truly delightful that this world now exists without a god of destruction from Universe 7. Back in the present-day timeline, Trunks concludes his explanation to Goku and the others, revealing that not long after that moment, Black suddenly appeared and began murdering people. Whis quietly tells Beerus that he most likely died in Trunks' timeline. Very few beings know that the death of a Supreme Kai causes the linked god of destruction to die as well. That kind of knowledge is typically reserved for high-ranking deities. Beerus starts to wonder whether Black is a god himself, but Whis is more disturbed by the fact that Black seems capable of freely traveling between parallel worlds. Trunks admits that this is the first time he's even heard of a god of destruction, leading to his official introduction to both Beerus and Whis. With the time machine needing to recharge, Bulma sends Trunks off to change clothes. During this time, Trunks meets his counterpart from the present timeline, congratulates him for achieving Super Saiyan already, and urges him to protect his friends. He also meets the current version of Mai, though he doesn't appear to recognize Pilaf or Shu from his own timeline. As he walks off, quietly mourning future Mai, present Mai remarks on how dreamy he is. In the future timeline, Black senses that Trunks' presence has completely vanished from this world. He notes that the other universe's Supreme Kai and their corresponding gods of destruction have been wiped out as well, leaving no one to oppose him. Still, unwilling to underestimate a Saiyan, he decides to keep investigating. Nearby, a stray cat discovers Mai's body among the rubble. Back in the present, Goku and the others enjoy a meal while Beerus and Whis casually debate the larger consequences of a world without divine oversight. They suspect that this Black character will likely show up in their timeline too, with the same intentions. Elsewhere, in Universe 10, Kibito is in a training bout with a Kai named Zamasu. Though Kibito is able to hold his own, Zamasu gradually overwhelms him. As he goes in for the finishing blow, Gowasu, the Supreme Kai of Universe 10, brings the match to a halt as the Supreme Kai from Universe 7 observes. Gowasu explains that Zamasu once served as the North Kai from their universe and is now preparing to take over as the next Supreme Kai. As the conversation continues, Zamasu expresses his belief that it was the Supreme Kai from Universe 7 who defeated Majin Buu a few years ago. The Supreme Kai tells the group that defeating Buu wasn't something they did alone, and that it was actually supposed to be handled by the god of destruction. He goes on to say that they only succeeded thanks to the help of Son Goku and his friends. Zamasu is taken aback by the idea of mortals attaining the power of gods, and begins to voice concerns about maintaining balance and order throughout the cosmos. After Supreme Kai and Kibito leave, Gowasu turns his attention to Zamasu, noting his martial arts skills are at their peak, but they now need to work on his inner self. The two observe planet Babidi, where the sentient inhabitants have evolved, but they've also turned savagely violent. Zamasu instantly declares that such a race should be eradicated, shocking Gowasu, who warns that such thinking sounds more like that of a god of destruction. Zamasu is convinced that the species will never create order, though Gowasu disagrees. To find out for themselves, the two decide to use the special time rings, the item that allows you to freely travel through time, to observe the race's development 1,000 years into the future. Gowasu and Zamasu quietly observe from a distance as the primitive, beast-like inhabitants of planet Babidi engage in violent, chaotic skirmishes. While this is their current state, Gowasu wonders aloud what they might be like 1,000 years from now. To find out, he pulls out a time ring, an artifact Zamasu seems familiar with, and explains that, under special conditions, these rings allow them to travel into the future and return safely to their original timeline. Zamasu inquires about the possibility of traveling to the past, but Gowasu firmly warns that such an act is absolutely forbidden and highly dangerous. Altering history spawns a divergent world, creating a new timeline, and with it, a new time ring, green in color, which can be used to travel to said divergent world. Gowasu recounts how mortals from an advanced civilization in Universe 12 developed a time travel method, and as a result, the time rings were born. Looking back into the ring container, Gowasu notices something troubling. There are now 4 rings, one more than before. This means someone has recently tampered with the past and created an alternate timeline. After a brief pause, Zamasu says he understands and expresses his desire to continue with their planned trip a millennium into the future to study the barbarians' development. Since only Supreme Kai are allowed to time travel with the time ring, Gowasu temporarily grants Zamasu that status, giving him a Patara earring. He reminds Zamasu that they must wear the earrings on the same side to avoid fusing permanently, a scenario Zamasu clearly doesn't find amusing. The two gods travel forward in time, and at first glance, the future seems hopeful. Gowasu spots shelters, evidence of a written language, and even a musical instrument. But as they explore further, Zamasu finds that the barbarians remain locked in their bitter warfare, perhaps worse than ever. Convinced that the universe would be better off without such beings, Zamasu watches as what appears to be an elder prepare to intervene. Before anything can be said, both Gowasu and Zamasu are attacked from behind. Zamasu retaliates by knocking the creature away, and Gowasu urgently insists that it's time to leave. Ignoring the command, Zamasu's anger flares as he forms an energy blade around his hand and slashes the attacker in two, ending its life with a cold smile. Gowasu yells at Zamasu to return at once, and the two gods instantly warp back. Once they arrive, Gowasu demands the return of the earring and an explanation for what just occurred. Zamasu responds bluntly, these vile creatures have no right to exist and are nothing but trash. Gowasu questions why Zamasu hates mortals so much, and the two engage in a disagreement in intervening with mortal life. Zamasu questions the point of being a Supreme Kai if their role is only to observe and never to act. Gowasu stresses the importance of fairness, reason, and impartiality in the role of a god, noting that Zamasu's time in achieving his power must be used in an effort to balance his heart. Shaken by the ordeal, he instructs Zamasu to prepare him some tea. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the heroes are caught up in an intense go-kart race via video game. As Vegeta struggles to take a corner at high speed, Beerus seizes the opportunity to pull into first place. The younger Trunks isn't having it and tosses a turtle shell at the god of destruction, allowing future Trunks to snatch victory. As Beerus and Whis prepare to leave, Goku reminds future Trunks to get some rest before their showdown with Black. Trunks insists he wants to join the battle, and Vegeta invites him to the gravity chamber room in the morning for training. Back in Universe 10, Zamasu is re-watching the battle between Goku and Hit on GodTube. Gowasu enters and finds Zamasu actively searching for Son Goku. When asked about it, Zamasu brushes the question aside and instead brings up the Omni King's unexpected appearance at the tournament, disgusted that mortals could actually be close in power to the gods of destruction. He curiously asks about the mysterious floating orbs seen at the event, prompting Gowasu to explain that they're likely the Super Dragon Balls, magical relics capable of granting any wish. As morning arrives, young Trunks climbs out of bed while future Trunks is already deep into a sparring session with Vegeta inside the gravity chamber. Goku sits in quiet meditation above a pond while Beerus groggily awakens. Soon after, Universe 7's Supreme Kai arrives per Beerus' request. Beerus questions him on whether he's met other gods who harbor extreme ideologies. Whis elaborates, suggesting they consider the possibility of a god who might seek to wipe out humanity altogether. The Supreme Kai hesitates, then admits that someone like that might exist, Goku joins in as the Supreme Kai finally reveals the name, Kibito. Yes, Kibito, his own attendant, has made some questionable comments about mortals in the past, including suggesting that humans shouldn't be allowed in the Supreme Kai world. Goku says that Kibito being Goku Black seems far-fetched, but Beerus still wants to investigate. Just then, Whis receives a divine transmission from the Grand Priest. The Omni King wishes to see Goku immediately. This shocks Beerus as Goku hesitates, not particularly eager to go, especially since Whis would need 2 days to get there. Luckily, the Supreme Kai offers to teleport them directly, cutting the travel time entirely. Beerus orders Whis to accompany them and harshly reminds Goku to behave and not to mention anything about Goku Black. Before they go, he also tells the Supreme Kai that under no circumstances should he be killed. Upon arrival, the trio are greeted by the Grand Priest himself. In typical Goku fashion, he cheerfully introduces himself. Whis offers an apology for Goku's casual attire, but the Grand Priest, seemingly unfazed, admits that this is probably the most formal Goku ever gets. As they make their way to meet the Omni King, Goku quietly notes to Whis that the Grand Priest gives off powerful aura. Whis agrees, but quickly warns Goku not to request a sparring match or anything reckless. He goes on to say that not even he can stand up to the Grand Priest in a fight, which excites Goku. Goku then wonders aloud if they should bring up the Goku Black situation, reasoning that someone like Black wouldn't stand a chance against the Grand Priest. But Whis firmly tells him that angels must remain neutral and are never to engage in combat. More importantly, if the Omni King were to learn of the situation prematurely, he might wipe out the entire universe without hesitation. Once inside, the Omni King greets the group with childlike enthusiasm and declares that he wants a friend. Goku will be perfect. Goku, a little caught off guard, questions if that's the sole reason he was summoned. The Supreme Kai attempts to reassure the Omni King that Goku would love to play with him, but the Omni King immediately tells him to be quiet. Curious about names, the Omni King asks what he should call Goku, and Goku replies that his regular name is fine. The Omni King then requests a nickname for himself, which Goku jokingly replies Zenny. The sheer boldness of the nickname causes the Supreme Kai to faint in shock. Goku tries to pivot the conversation, asking if they're going to talk about the multiversal tournament that was teased after Universe 6 and 7's match. The Omni King says they'll get to that later. Right now, he just wants to play. Goku explains that he's busy with some urgent matters and can't stay to play at the moment. Though the Omni King's attendants begin to scold him and lunge in to attack, the Omni King silences them too. Goku promises to return once he's resolved his current business and says he'll even bring someone who might make an even better friend. In response, the Omni King presents Goku with a button he can press at any time to summon him. As Goku scoops up the fainted Supreme Kai and departs with Whis, the Grand Priest quietly reflects on what an interesting companion Goku might become for the Omni King, noting even he's excited to see him again. Elsewhere, Gowasu steps away from his duties and calls out to Zamasu to prepare him some tea, but his apprentice is nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, on Zuno's planet, Zamasu is receiving instructions on how to use the Super Dragon Balls. Zuno appears hesitant to continue answering questions, but Zamasu leans into his divine authority as a Kai to demand more specific information, going so far as to threaten Zuno's life. Zamasu discovers that since the artifacts have been used recently, the Super Dragon Balls cannot be used for a year. He then demands the precise location of each Dragon Ball. Back on Earth, a visibly irritated Beerus awaits the group's return. Whis thanks him for his patience, while Goku cheerfully comments on how friendly Zenny is. Beerus is appalled by the nickname, but Whis is more focused on the so-called friend Goku promised the Omni King. Goku admits that he didn't actually have anyone in mind, it just seemed like the only way the Omni King would let them leave. Jokingly, he suggests that maybe Beerus should go, since he always has so much free time. The conversation shifts as everyone turns their attention back to the matter of Goku Black. The Supreme Kai, still confused, asks who this mysterious individual even is. Just then, Bulma arrives, and Goku begins explaining everything they know so far. The Supreme Kai is taken aback upon learning that he dies in the future, and it suddenly becomes clear to him as to why Beerus had earlier inquired about any gods with potentially dangerous beliefs. Goku brings up the moment when the Supreme Kai had pointed the finger at Kibito, which prompts the Kai to admit that he hadn't realized just how complex the situation truly was. At that moment, Bulma chimes in to let the group know that they've got company. Old Kai and Kibito have just arrived on Earth. Beerus, believing Kibito to be the prime suspect, prepares to destroy him, but confused, he steps forward and clarifies the situation. A sage named Zuno reached out to the Supreme Kai realm, reporting that Zamasu from Universe 10 had visited to ask about the Super Dragon Balls. Beerus isn't familiar with Zamasu, so the Supreme Kai elaborates. Zamasu is a Kai from Universe 10 currently training to become a Supreme Kai. He likely witnessed the Universe 6 vs 7 tournament on GodTube, which apparently was illegally uploaded. Kibito adds that Zamasu even asked whether it would be possible to use the Super Dragon Balls to switch the bodies of a god and a mortal, shocking everyone. With all the pieces in place, the realization becomes clear. Zamasu must have swapped bodies with Goku, and that is who Goku Black truly is. Trunks, however, is confused. Goku in his timeline had died long ago, so how could Zamasu have taken over his body? Beerus explains that the Supreme Kai possess time rings, which allow them to access parallel timelines. But there's a problem. Zamasu is still just a Kai, not yet a Supreme Kai. How could he have gotten his hands on a time ring? Digging deeper, they ask Trunks if Goku Black wears a Potara earring. He confirms this, but isn't sure about the color. Through a brief memory of Black taunting him, Trunks manages to identify the earring's color. Whis quickly pieces things together. The Supreme Kai of Universe 10 must now be in serious danger. Bulma theorizes that Zamasu likely killed his master, took the Potara and the title of Supreme Kai, and then used the time ring to travel to Trunks' world. Whis suspects that, since the strongest warriors like Goku still exist in this timeline, Zamasu chose a timeline where he would face less resistance. Beerus blames the Supreme Kai for having died in that alternate future, while Whis worries that Zamasu may now be hiding in Trunks' timeline, potentially preparing to eliminate them all. Determined to act, Beerus announces that they need to travel to Universe 10 and destroy Zamasu. However, the Supreme Kai hesitates, pointing out that interfering will create another divergent timeline. Beerus, however, exclaims it's better than being killed. Goku wants to go too, but Whis says it's too risky as he's a prime target for Zamasu. Beerus also insists that this mission is strictly for the gods. The Supreme Kai offers to take the two to Zamasu right away, but Beerus has something else in mind for him. With that, Beerus and Whis depart, leaving the others behind. Vegeta vents his frustration, annoyed that Zamasu chose to target Kakarot instead of him. Then again, he admits, Monaka was the real hero of the Universe Tournament. Pilaf soon informs the group that they've gathered enough energy to power the time machine. Goku and Vegeta are ready to head out. They can't afford to wait for Beerus and Whis. Future Trunks acknowledges his readiness as well, and promises his mother to come back alive. Meanwhile, Beerus and Whis arrive in Universe 10 and are greeted by Gowasu in the Supreme Kai realm. After a polite exchange, they explain that they wish to speak with his disciple. But Zamasu has gone out, and for the first time ever without Gowasu's permission. In response, Beerus decides to wait for his return. Elsewhere, Goku and Vegeta confirm that they've brought sensu beans and travel to the future with Trunks. Upon arrival, they're stunned by the devastation. Black quickly senses their energy, and both sides begin to prepare for battle. As Trunks shrinks the time machine into a capsule, he spots the cat from before and immediately follows it. In his pursuit, he stumbles across Mai and realizes she's still alive. He calls out for a sensu, chews it himself, and places it into Mai's mouth. Goku is stunned by the mouth-to-mouth transfer, prompting a curious moment. Vegeta asks Goku if he's ever kissed anyone, to which Goku innocently responds that he hasn't. Vegeta is baffled. Goku is married after all. Goku, ever clueless, doesn't see the connection. Mai regains consciousness and is shocked to see Trunks, asking if he made it back to the past. Trunks explains that he returned with Goku and Vegeta to defeat Black. Recognizing Mai as the future version of the girl from his home, Vegeta tells both her and Trunks to stay back while they take care of Black. They might need Trunks as backup, but if the fight goes south, he must escape using the time machine. Goku notes that Vegeta's changed a lot from before, and the two head off for battle. Mai wonders if Goku and Vegeta can truly win. Trunks, confident in their power, believes they're the only ones who can save this world. Black, sensing the movement of two powerful energies, wonders who they could be. Goku and Vegeta land, scouting a nearby barren area to avoid more destruction. Suddenly, Black arrives, a bit confused by the situation. Vegeta steps forward, eager to go first, thrilled by the idea of beating down someone who looks exactly like Goku. Goku wastes no time revealing that they've uncovered Black's true identity. Black admits that he killed the version of Goku whose body he now inhabits, but expresses curiosity over how Goku and Vegeta managed to appear in this timeline. Vegeta doesn't bother answering. Instead, he immediately powers up to Super Saiyan 2 and charges in, launching a relentless barrage of attacks. Black withstands the onslaught, seemingly blocking each strike with precision, though the force of the blows is undeniable. Then, powering up to Super Saiyan himself, Black counterattacks. Vegeta, staying sharp, maneuvers around a blast and lands a powerful double fist gut punch, catching Black completely off guard. As the battle rages on, Goku, Trunks, and Mai observe from a distance. Trunks comments on how it's been a while since he's seen Black transform, and he seems even more powerful than before. Vegeta presses on, landing several solid blows that push Black to finally erect a barrier. As Black muses about which timeline his opponents came from, Vegeta calmly replies that, since Black stole Goku's future body, he should be capable of going Super Saiyan Blue as well. Smirking, Vegeta transforms into Super Saiyan Blue and continues to provoke him. Black responds with visible frustration, admitting that he can't access that form, prompting Vegeta to continue his assault, mocking Black by praising the combat prowess of the real Goku. He can't acquire true strength by just stealing someone's body. Meanwhile, in the present timeline, Zamasu finally returns, only to be met by the unexpected presence of Beerus and Whis. Beerus doesn't waste time, immediately confronting Zamasu about his suspicious visit to Zuno and his inquiry regarding swapping bodies with a mortal. At that very moment, Universe 7 Supreme Kai arrives, having just returned from a journey to the future where he witnessed Zamasu's impending betrayal. He informs everyone of his crimes, and Beerus makes up in his mind to destroy him. Gowasu, stunned and disappointed, demands an explanation from his student. Zamasu, smiling with an air of superiority, remains unapologetic, referring to his evil deeds as acts of justice. In the future, the fight between Vegeta and Black continues. Black, though increasingly battered, begins ranting about humanity corrupting the universe. During a lull in the battle, Goku reminds Black that he didn't defeat any gods of destruction himself. He only eliminated the Supreme Kai across universes, which in turn got rid of them. Black, however, is unashamed, noting that his underhanded tactics don't change the fact that he's the only god left in this timeline. Vegeta has no patience for Black's so-called justice and continues to overpower him with ease, an act that only fuels Black's rage further. Back again in the present, Zamasu forms his signature energy blade, but before he can do anything, Beerus intervenes. With calm precision, the god of destruction places his hand to Zamasu's face and obliterates him in a single motion. Whis, meanwhile, takes a moment to chastise Gowasu for his poor judgment, while Universe 7 Supreme Kai suggests they return immediately to relay an urgent discovery to Goku and Vegeta. Elsewhere in the future, Goku, Trunks, and Mai continue to watch the fight unfold. Confident that Vegeta has the upper hand, Goku isn't worried, but an uneasy feeling lingers from Trunks. Goku, taking note of it, suddenly shouts to Vegeta, telling him to forget about giving him a turn and just finish the fight now. Vegeta knocks Black away and charges a final flash, aiming to end it then and there, but just before the blast lands, a blur of motion cuts through the sky. Someone intervenes, rescuing Black at the last possible second and placing him safely on a nearby rooftop. At that same time, the Supreme Kai reveals to Beerus and Whis that Black wasn't working alone in the future. He had a partner. That partner has now revealed himself, having not only saved Black, but also restored him to full strength. Together, Goku Black and Zamasu stand united, two beings working in tandem, inching ever closer to completing their twisted vision, the Zero Mortal Plan. The Saiyans are stunned to see Zamasu standing right beside Black. After all, Black was supposed to be Zamasu inhabiting Goku's body. The sight of both of them together throws everything they thought they understood into question. Meanwhile, back in the present, Bulma informs Beerus that Goku and the others have already traveled to the future. She then raises the question on everyone's mind: why are there two Zamasu? The Supreme Kai provides an explanation. If the Zamasu who took over Goku's body originated from their own timeline, then it would naturally follow that another, separate version of Zamasu exists within Trunks' timeline as well. As the puzzle pieces start to align, Vegeta connects the remaining dots while both versions of Zamasu express confusion over the sudden arrival of these intruders in their world. Zamasu explains that there should only be 5 parallel timelines, all of which are accounted for, so he's puzzled when he notices a 6th time ring inside the box. Vegeta remarks that his past self must have been destroyed by Beerus, resulting in the birth of yet another timeline where Zamasu no longer exists. Black then concludes that Goku and Vegeta must have traveled here from the past. After some condescending remarks and posturing, Vegeta launches in with an aggressive assault, but Black, having grown even stronger, quickly turns the tide. Black admits that Vegeta was right earlier. Simply stealing Goku's body hadn't been enough. At first, he couldn't properly tap into Super Saiyan power, let alone access Super Saiyan Blue. But through repeated battles, he came to understand the true key to Saiyan strength. Trunks speculates whether he means the Saiyan trait of growing stronger after recovering from near-death experiences. In the present, the Supreme Kai confirms it. Black had been deliberately exploiting that very Saiyan trait, combining it with Zamasu's healing ability to continuously evolve and increase his power. The fight continues as Vegeta takes heavy damage, leading Goku to offer him a Senzu beam. Vegeta exchanges blows with Black, but it's clear he now has the upper hand. Trunks deduces that his father and Goku can no longer benefit from the same recovery-based power boosts as Black, likely due to the intense training they've undergone over the years. Zamasu once again heals Black, increasing his strength to a level that surpasses what any mortal could ever hope to reach. With this, Black powers up into an entirely new form, now marked by striking pink hair. Goku takes notice of the transformation, and Zamasu explains that unlike mortals, whose energy turns blue at this stage of surpassing Super Saiyan God, divine power manifests as a pink or light crimson color. Embracing the trend of Saiyan naming conventions, Black announces the name of his new form, Super Saiyan Rose. Rather than teaming up, Goku and Vegeta decide to split their efforts. Vegeta continues battling Black, while Goku turns his focus to Zamasu. At first, Goku seems to be holding his own too easily, declaring to end the fight as soon as possible. When he counters one of Zamasu's attacks by flinging back a large chunk of the levitated debris, it impales the god, and Goku powers down to Super Saiyan, prompting Trunks to grow suspicious. Instead of showing pain, Zamasu simply laughs and removes the broken pole from his body, and it instantly regenerates. He reveals that he's not just powerful, but he's immortal. Zamasu used the Super Dragon Balls one final time to make that wish before destroying them, fully aware his physical strength would never match the Saiyans. With a flick of his fingers, he telekinetically yanks the Senzu beans from Goku and burns them to dust. Zamasu continues to assault Goku telekinetically, while Black relentlessly pummels Vegeta into unconsciousness, leaving him sprawled onto the ground. Seeing no other option, Trunks screams for everyone to retreat. Black mocks him, pointing out that Trunks was the very one who helped him grow stronger through their repeated fights. Desperate to buy time, Trunks shouts for Goku and Mai to close their eyes and unleashes a blinding solar flare on both Zamasu and Black. Seizing the opportunity, Trunks leads the others underground, where they begin to formulate a plan. Goku recalls a technique passed down by Master Roshi, a method used to seal away a great evil using a rice cooker, the evil containment wave. He wonders if this ancient technique could work on Zamasu to counter his immortality. Trunks agrees to try, and insists that they return to the past immediately to learn it. Meanwhile, Black is temporarily unable to sense the Saiyans, as they've mastered suppressing their energy. But smirking, Black pinpoints something else, Mai's energy signature, and teleports away with Zamasu in pursuit. When the gods arrive, they spot hooded figures attempting to flee, but it's a ruse. It's just a group of mannequins, part of Mai's diversion. Leaping out with her shotgun, Mai opens fire while Trunks emerges from behind, driving his sword straight into Zamasu's back. From a distance, Goku turns to Trunks and offers a quiet apology for having to leave him behind to fight alone. With Trunks stalling Black and Vegeta in tow, Goku makes his way to the past. As present-day Trunks continues his training session with Pilaf and Shu, Mai is suddenly snapped out of a daydream by the dramatic reappearance of the time machine. But when the hatch opens, only Goku, Vegeta, and a cat step out. Trunks is nowhere to be seen. Goku regretfully explains that they had to leave him behind, but he's planning to use the return trip as a chance to master the evil containment wave. He assumes they'll be able to return to the exact moment they left, but Bulma corrects him. The time machine isn't connected to a fixed point in time, but rather to a general parallel future itself. On top of that, the connection appears to be weakening, meaning their next trip will likely be their last. The Supreme Kai abruptly stands, stating that he intends to visit Gowasu in Universe 10 to offer his condolences and bring him up to speed on everything that's transpired. Whis, however, seems skeptical of this explanation. Meanwhile, Beerus says he won't be going to the future, reminding Goku and the others that he already dealt with the Zamasu in this timeline, so now the rest is on their shoulders. Goku wonders aloud what the Whis of the future might be doing, but Whis explains that angels become inactive when their associated god is no longer alive. In other words, they're completely without divine support in Trunks' timeline. Vegeta, uninterested in the evil containment wave altogether, takes his leave, adamant that he'll defeat Black and Zamasu in his own way, even if that means taking on the Super Saiyan Rose head on. Back in the future, Trunks is getting relentlessly beaten down by Black, who wears a smug grin the entire time. Mai rushes in and manages to land a hit, but Black retaliates with a violent ki blast from his eyes that sends her flying. Trunks seizes the moment to leap back and attempts a solar flare, but before he can follow through, Zamasu hurls Trunks' sword at him, forcing him to dodge. Despite the overwhelming odds, Trunks remains determined to fight, while the two twisted gods are just as set on killing him. Black, tired of the back and forth, decides to end things once and for all. Mai still tries to assist, attempting to hand Trunks his sword, but he shouts for her to run and get as far away as possible. Just as Black prepares to unleash his finishing attack, Gowasu appears out of nowhere with Universe 7's Supreme Kai, rescuing Trunks and Mai by teleporting them to safety. Zamasu is momentarily baffled, convinced they died long ago, but Black assumes they must have come here from the past. Trunks is speechless to see the Supreme Kai again, who explains that he'd been waiting for the right moment to intervene, traveling via Time Ring. Gowasu humbly bows and offers a heartfelt apology to Trunks, who's visibly surprised to see a god apologizing to him. They're now hiding in the future version of the Supreme Kai realm, which is completely deserted due to Zamasu's past genocidal rampage. At the very least, it provides a safe space to lay low until Goku and Vegeta return. Elsewhere in the present, Master Roshi, the Turtle Hermit, watches Goku struggle as he practices the evil containment wave, the sealing technique passed down to him by his master. Goku isn't landing the jar seal properly, and Roshi notes it's because he's attacking too forcefully instead of focusing on finesse. Goku, growing frustrated, questions why the old master can't just go seal Zamasu himself. Roshi explains that the evil containment wave requires immense strength and can even kill the user. But Goku, too caught up in his own rush to learn the move, doesn't fully heed the warning. Roshi simply turns to go inside to finish preparing the sealing charm. Back in the devastated future, Black and Zamasu discuss their next move. Now that the other Supreme Kai know of their plan, there's a real possibility someone might inform Zeno, the Omni King. They contemplate leaving Earth, but not before killing the remaining humans first. The Supreme Kai quietly watches over the sleeping Trunks and Mai, reflecting that he wishes Kibito were here to heal them. Gowasu, staring off in thought, observes that healing was a divine gift meant to aid the protectors of life, yet it has now been turned into a tool of cruelty. Perhaps, he muses, the extent of divine power should be more carefully restricted. Suddenly, both gods sense a horrifying truth. Goku Black and Zamasu have resumed their massacre on the Earth's survivors. Gowasu, unwilling to hide any longer, decides it's time to take responsibility for his former student. Despite the Supreme Kai's attempt to stop him, Gowasu departs for Earth. There, he finds Black and Zamasu at another shelter, targeting innocent survivors. Confronting them, Gowasu questions Black directly, challenging his distorted view of a peaceful world. The conversation quickly devolves into a philosophical clash about humanity's role, both its flaws and its potential. Black even admits that he killed off the other gods in fear of retaliation for his ideology. Despite Gowasu's repeated pleas, Black remains unmoved. As the Supreme Kai, Trunks, and Mai arrive to intervene, Gowasu extends a hand to Black in a final gesture of hope, only for Black to slip past it and stab him straight through the chest. With cold satisfaction, Black declares that this makes the third time he's killed Gowasu, his own master, the future Zamasu's master, and now this alternate version from a separate past. As Gowasu's lifeless body collapses, Vegeta emerges from the hyperbolic time chamber, and Goku steps forward, now seemingly having perfected the evil containment wave. As the Supreme Kai erupts with rage over the attack on Gowasu, vowing to make Black pay, Zamasu suddenly charges in, delivering a strike while berating the Kai. Trunks clutches onto Gowasu, begging him to hang on. The Kai then suddenly begins coughing up blood, signaling that he's still alive, if only barely. Trunks quickly shouts for Mai to get Gowasu to safety, then powers up to Super Saiyan and launches himself back into the fight. Elsewhere, Goku and Vegeta arrive back in the future just in time. Though everyone is still alive, they can sense that Trunks' energy levels are rapidly dropping. They arrive via instant transmission and, assessing the situation, Vegeta immediately claims Black as his opponent and tells Goku to focus on sealing Zamasu with the evil containment wave. Before doing so, Goku runs over to give Trunks a sensu bean. Zamasu tries to intercept with a blast, but Goku warps away in the nick of time, bringing both Trunks and the Supreme Kai with him. As they land, Mai stops in front of the group and asks Goku for a sensu bean to give to Gowasu. Back on the battlefield, Vegeta and Black face off with a brief exchange of glares and smug remarks. Suddenly, Vegeta transforms not into Super Saiyan Blue, but into the original Super Saiyan God form. Black scoffs, assuming Vegeta has lost his mind, but he can't help being unsettled by how calm and self-assured Vegeta appears. As the battle kicks off, Vegeta easily avoids Black's attacks. Black notices something strange. Vegeta's speed spikes right at the last moment before impact. Before Black can react, Vegeta lands a devastating kick that sends him crashing through a nearby building. Furious and confused, Black still can't decipher what Vegeta is doing. While the intense battle continues, Goku uses a sensu to heal Gowasu and the others, reducing their already limited supply to just one. He confirms to Trunks that he's mastered the evil containment wave, and even shows off a capsule containing the sealing jar. As they watch Vegeta dominate his fight, they realize something's different. Despite only using Super Saiyan God, a weaker form than Blue, Vegeta is still overwhelming Black. Goku explains that Vegeta is rapidly switching into Super Saiyan Blue at the very last moment of each strike, maximizing damage while conserving stamina. Goku admits that he used the same technique during his battle with Hit, but Vegeta has clearly perfected it to an entirely new degree. Zamasu then swoops in, catching Vegeta off guard with a flying kick and suggests they combine their efforts. Goku re-enters the fray, determined to take on Zamasu himself and seal him away with the evil containment wave. As he prepares, Black eyes the battlefield suspiciously, noticing the jar and wondering what it's doing there. Vegeta fires off a few blasts to get Black's attention again, while Zamasu, ever confident in his immortality, shows no concern about the strange jar. Then, in a swift and precise move, Goku activates the evil containment wave, successfully capturing Zamasu and sealing him inside the jar. Trunks rushes in to help tie the lid shut while Goku fumbles for the magical charm, only to realize he grabbed a Hostess bar discount coupon instead. Without the seal, Zamasu bursts back out of the jar in a rage. With no other option, Goku powers up to Super Saiyan God and re-engages. Zamasu attempts to trap Goku in place, but the speed and precision of the red-haired form prove too much to handle, allowing Goku to land several strong blows. As they battle, Goku tries to reason with Zamasu, pointing out that he's being manipulated by his alternate self. He urges Zamasu to reflect on how far he's strayed, but the effort only enrages Black, who watches Zamasu get blown in his direction. As tensions rise, it seems the two Zamasu are on the verge of turning on each other, upset that their plan seems to be failing. Black, however, suddenly smiles, reminding his counterpart of their final resort. Goku's eyes widen in alarm, realizing too late what they're about to do. The two Zamasu raise their hands and attach their Patara earrings. Goku tries to finish them off, but in a blinding flash, the two merge. The one true god across all universes is born, Fused Zamasu. Goku and Vegeta now find themselves up against the terrifying results of the Potara fusion between Goku Black and Zamasu, a being that combines both raw power and divine arrogance. Despite their best efforts, they're completely overwhelmed. Even Super Saiyan Blue is treated like child's play. However, Goku manages to find a brief opening and unleashes a Kamehameha that blasts straight through Zamasu's chest. For a moment, it seems like a turning point, until the hole in Zamasu's body begins to regenerate and seal shut, confirming that his immortality remains intact. Zamasu then uses telekinesis to seize both Saiyans by the throat, suspending them in mid-air before triggering a massive explosion. As he bellows with maniacal laughter, he begins to proclaim the glory of his divine reign. In celebration, Zamasu unleashes a devastating wave of red energy beams meant to destroy everything in sight. Amid the chaos, Goku rushes to shield Trunks and the others from the incoming blasts. As he tries to urge them to fall back, the Supreme Kai steps forward and offers Goku his Potara earrings. With these, Goku and Vegeta can fuse into Vegito, a fusion strong enough to challenge Zamasu's might. But Vegeta immediately refuses, firmly reiterating that he vowed to never fuse again. Goku, having anticipated this response, nods in agreement, content to continue fighting on their own. The two even settle who will get to go first with a brief interaction. Goku takes his turn in Super Saiyan Blue, but ends up getting slammed by a barrage of Kachin blocks hurled by Zamasu, which leaves Trunks staring on with a sense of hopelessness. Watching the scene unfold, Gowasu solemnly comments on how unfortunate it is that they might not survive the next hour. An ironic twist, considering Zamasu's fusion will only last that long. Vegeta, surprised by this, protests that Potara fusion is supposed to be permanent. Gowasu, however, clarifies that permanence only applies to Supreme Kai class deities. For mortals or non-deities, the fusion has a 1-hour limit, and Zamasu was never appointed as a Supreme Kai. Even the Supreme Kai himself is taken aback, now realizing that Vegito's defusion inside Majin Buu must have simply been due to the time limit running out, rather than external interference. Trunks, hearing this, becomes all the more determined. For the sake of the world, and most of all to honor his late mother, he resolves to keep fighting for the full hour. Turning to Vegeta, Trunks shares something deeply personal. Bulma had hoped to see Vegeta again and planned to travel back to the past with Trunks. Tragically, she never got the chance. Goku Black took her life before she could make that journey. Meanwhile, Goku, battered and drained of energy, debates whether or not to use the last remaining Senzu beam. At that moment, Vegeta arrives and holds out his hand for the second Potara earring. Sensing them below, Zamasu prepares to deal the finishing blow. But before he can act, a massive energy blast erupts from the building and crashes into him, tearing off the entire right half of his body. It's none other than Vegito, the fusion of Goku and Vegeta, reborn once again. Vegito steps forward, quickly explaining that both fusions are now temporary, limited to 1 hour. He chews up the final Senzu, restoring his energy, and immediately powers up to Super Saiyan Blue. His strategy is simple: obliterate Zamasu so thoroughly that there's nothing left to regenerate. Vegito charges in with relentless force, delivering a barrage of devastating strikes that actually manage to make Zamasu bleed. He offers Zamasu no time to recover, effortlessly dodging counterattacks while continuing to land blow after punishing blow. Watching from the sidelines, the Supreme Kai of both universes stare on in awe, completely stunned by the overwhelming power on display. Zamasu bursts out of the rubble and grabs Vegito by the legs, only for Vegito to counter with a key sword, slicing both of the god's arms clean off. Even as Zamasu regenerates once more and readies a new wave of Kachin projectiles, Vegito prepares his ultimate attack, the final Kamehameha. At the same time, Universe 7's Supreme Kai wonders aloud if Vegito's strength has already surpassed Lord Beerus. Just as the warriors move in for their finishing moves, Vegito's fusion abruptly wears off. Goku and Vegeta split apart, standing side by side once more. Stunned, they're pummeled by the incoming wave of Kachin. With Goku and Vegeta defused, Trunks and the others wonder why the fusion ended prematurely. Gowasu speculates that the two may have been too powerful for the Potara to contain, while Zamasu concludes that mortals were never meant to wield the sacred treasure of the gods. In his anger, he opens a rift-like portal and viciously knocks Goku to the ground, repeating the same act with Vegeta. With roughly 20 minutes still remaining on Zamasu's own fusion, he wastes no time resuming his assault. He launches a series of attacks, his fists and feet warping through portals that surround the two warriors, blows striking from every direction with teleportation-like precision. Universe 7's Supreme Kai openly laments his current role, admitting that had he remained an apprentice rather than ascending to full Supreme Kai, he would still possess the ability to heal. That comment sparks a realization in Trunks, who reveals that in his own timeline, he had actually taken on the role of Supreme Kai apprentice in preparation for his battle against Dabura. Thanks to completing that ritualistic dance, Trunks gained the power of restoration, and it suddenly clicks that it's likely why he was able to instinctively heal both Mai and Gowasu after they suffered what should have been fatal injuries. He saved them without realizing it. As the battle rages on, Vegeta is struck hard and sent flying through the air. Trunks quickly leaps up, catches him mid-fall, and brings him back to safety. Trunks prepares to heal Vegeta, though the Supreme Kai tells him he'll only be able to heal one person as powerful as a Super Saiyan Blue. So who will it be, Goku or Vegeta? Without hesitation, Vegeta makes the call himself. He tells Trunks to heal Kakarot, acknowledging that Goku is the only one currently capable of facing Zamasu at full strength in Super Saiyan Blue. Apparently, it became clear to him while they refused. Vegeta launches back up to Goku, who's being mercilessly tortured by Zamasu, yanked through swirling portals and struck with a series of crushing blows. Vegeta intercepts Goku mid-attack and hurls him back down toward Trunks. Zamasu, uncaring of who feels his wrath, pursues Vegeta, though the Saiyan Prince manages to blast his way out of his hold. Downed and devoid of energy, looking to distract Zamasu as long as possible, Vegeta finds himself on the end of a merciless thrashing from the deity, aiming to make him suffer until his body can't take anymore. In the meantime, Trunks uses the opening to fully heal Goku. Unfortunately, the healing comes just as Vegeta is overwhelmed and knocked unconscious. As Goku steadies himself for another round against Zamasu, Trunks expends a bit of his remaining energy to at least awaken his father. Goku ascends to Super Saiyan Blue once again, but this time something is different. He pauses and adopts a serene, centered stance. When he attacks, his movements are precise and controlled, weaving through Zamasu's chaotic portal strikes and managing to land a solid hit, even as one of Zamasu's fists lands a clean punch on his face. Watching from the sidelines, Vegeta comments, Kakarot has somehow stabilized the immense power of Super Saiyan Blue, allowing him to fight with its full potential. This is the completed transformation in action. Goku continues to hold his ground evenly against Zamasu, though the battle is far from over. He even manages to stop and redirect a massive energy sphere aimed directly at him. Vegeta wonders how long Goku can maintain this perfect balance, as the power of Super Saiyan Blue within his body could break at any moment. It soon becomes clear that Goku's body is starting to show signs of strain, his muscles twitching under the pressure. Meanwhile, Zamasu, despite everything, has already returned to peak condition. Goku dives into another intense round against Fused Zamasu, struggling to counter the god's overwhelming telekinetic abilities. Despite being tossed around and restrained, Goku manages to fire off a one-handed Kamehameha that Zamasu barely avoids. Goku rushes back in and the battle resumes, both fighters increasing the damage on one another. Infuriated, Zamasu tears off his tattered shirt in disbelief, unable to comprehend how his supposedly divine body is taking so much damage. At the same time, Goku is visibly pushing himself to his limits, his energy waning, his control slipping. He decides to bet his remaining energy with his next attack, and a blue aura surrounds his fist. Zamasu explodes in anger, bellowing that he'll obliterate the entire galaxy as his aura fills the atmosphere. Trunks believes Zamasu to still have reserves of strength, but Vegeta explains that his anger is preventing him from restoring his physical stamina, a mistake that could cost him the battle. Zamasu lunges toward Goku, but just before the two clash, the Saiyan retaliates with a completely unexpected move, the same destruction technique Beerus had once used on Zamasu in the present timeline. As part of Zamasu's body begins to disintegrate recuperate from the attack, he quickly opens a portal and yanks Mai into the path of the technique, forcing Goku to halt the move to avoid harming her. Taking advantage of Goku's hesitation, Zamasu strikes him down with a brutal kick that knocks him unconscious. He then regenerates the part of his body that had started to vanish and restores himself once more. Trunks tries to charge in next, but Zamasu effortlessly knocks him aside, sending him crashing to the ground. From the sidelines, Vegito watches grimly and mutters that it's over. Then, without warning, Zamasu's body begins to tear itself apart, his form splitting down the middle. The fusion has finally hit its 1 hour limit, but the separation doesn't go as expected. Instead of cleanly splitting back into Black and Zamasu, the two halves appear to resist the separation entirely. Gowasu theorizes that because both entities are technically the same person, their fusion may have occurred at a cellular level, making it unstable and unable to cleanly unravel. Seizing the moment, Trunks charges forward once again, this time successfully slicing Zamasu into two distinct halves. Wasting no time, he drives his sword deep into Black's chest. It finally seems like the nightmare is over, until Black, still impaled by the blade, suddenly fires a blast at Trunks and forces himself back onto his feet. Both Black and Zamasu then twist and mutate into corrupted, fused Zamasu versions of themselves, now each a distorted, unstable embodiment of their former fusion. The two launch yet another attack on Goku. With both Goku and Trunks downed, Vegeta snaps. Fueled by pure rage, he charges in and screams at the gods, kicking Goku aside to clear a path and unleashes a powerful Gamma Burst Flash. The resulting explosion leaves twisted, dismembered body parts of the fused gods squirming across the battlefield, desperately trying to reform. As the Supreme Kai tries to evacuate the others through teleportation, the situation takes an even darker turn. Numerous versions of fused Zamasu begin to emerge from the chaos, their presence multiplying across the battlefield. As countless versions of fused Zamasu charge toward them, the situation grows more desperate by the second. The Supreme Kai teleports everyone to safety, instructing them to escape using the time machine while he and Gowasu retreat with the time rings. But Zamasu isn't about to let them slip away so easily. The swarm of clones surround them from all directions, each one ready to strike. Zamasu then unveils a terrifying truth. He's obtained the time machine from Universe 12 thanks to the knowledge from Gowasu, and now plans to pursue Goku and the others through every timeline, wiping them out along with the rest of humanity across all of existence. Realizing there's no real escape, Goku and Vegeta prepare to make a final stand. They tell Trunks to take his time machine and return to the present. With no solid plan in place, the two begin to power up, ready to face the end together. But just as things seem hopeless, Goku suddenly remembers something important: the Omni King. He questions the Supreme Kai on if Zeno still exists in this ruined timeline. The Kai confirms the Omni King can't be defeated. Smirking, Goku pulls out the button that can summon the Omni King and presses it without hesitation. In an instant, Zeno appears, much to the horror of the Supreme Kai and Zamasu. Goku is happy to see Zeno, though he's never met Goku in this version of reality. He takes one look around and declares that he doesn't like this place at all. Goku eagerly points at Zamasu, naming him as the one responsible for the devastation, and provocatively asks if the Omni King would like to erase everything here. Zeno calmly agrees, stating that a world like this shouldn't exist. As the decree is made, all the Zamasu clones begin to flee in terror. Wasting no time, Goku and Vegeta latch onto the time machine with Trunks and Mai as both Supreme Kai prepare to use the time rings. Zeno lifts his hands and shouts for everything to disappear, erasing Zamasu along with the entire timeline. It's then that a time ring within its case flickers and disintegrates, symbolizing the erasure of an alternate reality. Goku and the others return safely to the main timeline, finally reunited with their loved ones. Not long after, the Supreme Kai and Gowasu arrive to join them. Future Mai is warmly greeted by Pilaf and Shu, who are surprised to see her without her timeline's versions of them. But before they can ask about it, Mai turns her attention toward Beerus and Whis, who have come seeking an update on everything that happened. With the battle behind them, the group finally relaxes and sits down for a peaceful meal, recounting the events of their struggle against Zamasu. Beerus is left stunned, especially because the Supreme Kai put his life at risk again. Though Trunks' timeline has been completely erased, he assures everyone that the most important thing is that the other timelines were saved, and Zamasu has been stopped once and for all. Bulma laments on the fact that Trunks and Mai now have no world to return to, but Goku reminds her of something she said earlier, that their round trip to the future was supposed to be their final visit anyway. Bulma hesitates and admits that she may have been wrong about that. Pilaf then explains that some adjustments had to be made to the time machine settings, which now not only allow for another trip to Trunks' future, but also open the door to different types of alternate realities entirely. This new information sparks an idea in Goku, and he asks Bulma to let him use the time machine one more time. Accompanied by Trunks, Goku travels to the erased future timeline, where they find the Omni King floating alone in the void. Goku approaches the lonely deity and cheerfully offers to take him somewhere more enjoyable. Goku then brings the childlike ruler back to the present timeline, shocking Beerus with the unexpected arrival. Wasting no time, Goku then asks the Supreme Kai to take them to the Omni King's palace. When they arrive, the two Omni Kings are brought face to face. They immediately hit it off, and the two gods of all realities run off together like old friends. Watching the scene unfold, the Grand Priest asks Whis if this matchup was his doing, but Whis denies it, crediting Goku. The Grand Priest notes he's beginning to envy Universe 7, and Whis adds, with a light smile, that as the Grand Priest's son, he's always free to visit him whenever he likes. With the crisis resolved, Gowasu prepares to return to Universe 10, though not before receiving a stern warning from Beerus to be much more cautious with any future disciples. Trunks and Mai, meanwhile, express their wish to return to some point within their future. Whis confirms it can be done, though Beerus argues about the risks of creating yet another parallel world. The Supreme Kai advises Trunks to speak with the Beerus of that future timeline, in case Zamasu resurfaces there as well. This leads Goku to ask whether Beerus actually has the power to destroy immortal beings, though Beerus denies it. Pressing further, Goku wonders what kind of method Beerus would use if he did need to take one down, but both he and Whis remain discreet, clearly unwilling to share that secret. Getting back on track, Whis explains that another version of Trunks and Mai will already exist in the future they want to go to, but the pair are unbothered by the idea of coexisting with their alternate selves. 2 days later, the Supreme Kai offers Trunks the chance to remain his apprentice permanently and stay in the main timeline. Trunks politely declines, explaining that he only took the title to help defeat Babidi and Deborah, and apparently gives up his power to heal. As the older Trunks and Mai prepare to depart, the younger counterparts arrive to see them off. In a sweet and unexpected moment, young Mai somewhat admits to having feelings for young Trunks, hoping he'll look as cool as future Trunks one day. With their final goodbyes said and peace restored for now, Trunks and Mai return to their own timeline, ready to begin again. Even now, the Goku Black Arc is still my favorite in Dragon Ball Super. I hope you guys enjoyed my retelling of this. It feels good to have an updated version on the channel. If you liked the video, make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more content. Also, be sure to follow me on my social media in the description, and feel free to join the Discord if you want to talk about all things Dragon Ball. I also want to thank my channel members who have stuck around for the longest. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.